Have you ever been told that your dream was impossible before you even had the chance to fight for it? At 11 years old, Lionel Messi heard words that could have ended everything. His body had stopped growing. Without expensive treatment, he might never become tall or strong enough to play professional football. His family could not afford the medicine. For a small boy with a giant dream, the future suddenly looked very small, and yet that same boy would one day become one of the greatest footballers the world had ever seen. But first, he had to survive the verdict. Lionel Andres Messi was born on June 24, 1987, in Rosario, Argentina, into a hard-working family. His father, Jorge, worked long hours, while his mother cleaned houses to help support their 4 children. From the moment Lionel could walk, a football seemed to follow him everywhere. At 5, he joined Grandoli, coached by his father. By 8, he was playing for Newell's Old Boys. He was always one of the smallest boys on the field, but once the ball reached his feet, size no longer mattered. And before we continue, there is something deeply sad that has just happened in Messi's life. Something connected to the man who believed in him from the very beginning, N. I'll share that news with you at the very end of this video. Then, around the age of 11, something changed. Messi stopped growing. At first, his family thought it was simply genetics. But a visit to a doctor brought a frightening answer: growth hormone deficiency. The condition could be treated, but the medicine was expensive, far beyond what his family could easily afford. Every night, Messi had to inject himself in the leg. For a child who dreamed of becoming a footballer, the problem was no longer just about talent. His own body had become an obstacle, and soon the clubs around him would begin closing their doors too. Then, in 2000, a chance came from across the ocean. FC Barcelona invited Messi to Spain for a trial. The moment sporting director Carlos Rexach saw the small boy with the ball, he knew there was something special. He wanted to sign him. But the club hesitated. Messi was young, unusually small, and his treatment would cost money. Weeks passed, and his family began to lose hope. Finally, during a meeting at a tennis club, Rexach made a decision. With no contract available, he wrote a promise on a paper napkin and signed it. Barcelona would take Messi. They would also help pay for his treatment. At 13, the boy who had watched doors close in Argentina was suddenly walking through the biggest one of his life. 5 years later, on May 1, 2005, Messi scored his first goal for Barcelona. He was only 17. Ronaldinho lifted a perfect pass over the defense, and Messi calmly chipped the ball over the goalkeeper with his left foot. Goal. Then came an image that would become unforgettable. Ronaldinho, already one of the biggest stars in football, lifted the teenager onto his back as the stadium celebrated. No one watching that night could have known what they had just seen. It was only one goal. But it was the first step in a career that would eventually produce hundreds more. What followed happened almost too quickly. By 18, Messi had already won La Liga and the Champions League with Barcelona. Then, in 2008, Pep Guardiola became the club's coach, and built a team that seemed designed around Messi's extraordinary left foot. Barcelona began playing a fast, precise style of football that overwhelmed almost everyone. In 2009, they achieved something historic: 6 trophies in a single year. That same year, Messi won his first Ballon d'Or. Then he won it again and again and again. 4 years in a row, the small boy once told he might never grow enough to become a professional footballer was now being named the best player in the world. But even that was not the peak. Then came 2012, a year that pushed Messi beyond anything football had seen before. In just 12 months, he scored 91 goals. 91. The previous record had stood for decades, but Messi did not simply break it. He erased it. Week after week, the same pattern repeated. One touch, one run, one left-footed finish, another goal. The boy who once needed nightly injections just to keep growing was now producing numbers that seemed almost impossible. And still, some of his most unforgettable moments were yet to come. One moment from those years became unforgettable. In May 2015, Barcelona faced Bayern Munich in the Champions League semi-final. Messi received the ball near the edge of the box, with World Cup winning defender Jerome Boateng in front of him. Messi shifted one way, then the other. Boateng tried to follow and fell to the ground. Messi kept moving. With goalkeeper Manuel Neuer rushing toward him, he lifted the ball gently over one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Goal. It lasted only seconds, but the image traveled everywhere. 2 world champions helpless against one small left foot. Andrés Iniesta later said it simply: "Messi leaves us speechless." Yet Messi barely celebrated. He turned and walked back as if he had done nothing unusual at all. But every great story eventually reaches a breaking point. For Messi, it came on June 26, 2016, in the Copa América final against Chile. Argentina had already lost major finals before, and once again the match went to penalties. Messi stepped forward to take his kick. He struck the ball. It flew over the crossbar. Argentina lost. The greatest scorer of his generation sat down on the grass and cried. Minutes later, he made a decision that shocked his country. He was done with the national team. Argentina could not accept his goodbye. Fans begged Messi to return. Children held signs asking him not to leave. Even national figures publicly urged him to reconsider. For weeks, the country seemed united by one message: come back. Then, only 6 weeks after announcing his retirement, Messi changed his mind. He returned to the national team, not because the pain had disappeared, not because he suddenly knew he would win. He returned because walking away from Argentina hurt even more. For years, the losses continued, and the criticism followed him everywhere. But Messi kept coming back, and eventually, that decision would lead him to the trophy he had spent almost his entire career chasing. Then came July 2021. Argentina reached the Copa América final against Brazil, in Brazil itself. Ángel Di Maria scored, and Argentina held on until the final whistle. Messi dropped to his knees and cried. After years of lost finals, criticism and heartbreak, he had finally won a major trophy with his country. For a moment, the weight seemed to disappear. And if you remember watching that night, tell me in the comments what you felt when Messi finally lifted that trophy. Because, as emotional as that moment was, his greatest dream was still waiting. Then, only weeks after winning with Argentina, Messi faced a different kind of heartbreak. On August 8, 2021, he sat before the cameras at Camp Nou and tried to say goodbye to Barcelona. He had arrived there as a 13-year-old boy. Now, after 21 years, the club could no longer keep him because of its financial crisis. Messi had even agreed to reduce his salary, but it was not enough. Before he could finish his first sentence, he began to cry. His wife handed him a tissue. It was a painful image. The boy whose future had once been secured on a paper napkin was now leaving Barcelona with another small piece of paper in his hand. This time, it was not opening a door. It was closing one. Messi moved to Paris Saint-Germain, but Paris never truly felt like home. He kept playing. He kept scoring, but something was missing. Then came the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Messi was 35. Many believed this would be his final chance to win the one trophy that had always escaped him. Argentina's journey began with disaster, a shocking loss to Saudi Arabia. For a moment, the dream seemed finished before it had truly begun. But Messi had spent his entire life answering moments like this, and this time, he was not ready to let the story end. Argentina responded by winning again and again. They beat Mexico, then Poland, then Australia. They survived a furious battle against the Netherlands and defeated Croatia in the semifinal. On December 18, 2022, Messi walked into the World Cup final against France. Argentina led 2-0. Then Kylian Mbappé scored twice in less than 2 minutes. In extra time, Messi scored again. Mbappé answered again. 3-3. The greatest final of Messi's life would be decided by penalties. 6 years earlier, he had missed from the spot in a final and walked away in tears. Now, with the World Cup on the line, Messi stepped forward once more. This time, he scored. Argentina won the penalty shootout. Messi dropped to his knees as the stadium erupted around him. After years of lost finals, criticism, and heartbreak, the trophy he had chased for almost his entire life was finally his. He lifted the World Cup above his head and kissed it. The boy once told his body might never grow enough, for football had now reached the highest point the game could offer. For many, this would have been the perfect ending. But Messi's story was not finished yet. 3 months after winning the World Cup, Messi's story took a darker turn. On March 2, 2023, 2 men on a motorbike opened fire on a supermarket in Rosario, owned by the family of Messi's wife. They fired 14 shots into the building. No one was hurt. But before leaving, the attackers dropped a message for him. Messi, we are waiting for you. The city where his story had begun had become dangerous enough to threaten his own family. After giving Argentina one of its greatest moments of joy, Messi was reminded of something painful. Even becoming a national hero could not protect him from everything. In the summer of 2023, Messi joined Inter Miami. Many saw it as the beginning of the end, but he kept scoring, kept winning, and eventually reached another extraordinary milestone. 900 career goals. From Rosario to Barcelona, Paris, Miami, and the World Cup stage, his journey had stretched across generations. Now, at 39, there is little left for Messi to prove. Maybe there is one more goal. Maybe one more unforgettable night. Or maybe, one day, he will simply walk off the field and never return. For now, the final whistle has not come. We have traveled a long way with Messi. From a small boy in Rosario, taking nightly injections, to Barcelona, lost, finals, tears, records, and finally the World Cup. And through every chapter, one pattern kept returning. A door closed, Messi kept moving. Another door closed, he kept moving again. That may be why his story means more than goals or trophies, because again and again, life gave him reasons to stop. And again, he chose not to. People often called Messi a machine. But machines do not cry after losing a final. Machines do not kiss a trophy like it means everything. Machines do not carry the hopes of an entire country for years and keep returning after heartbreak. Messi was never a machine. He was a person with an extraordinary gift and the courage to keep protecting it. That may be the most powerful part of his story. Not that Messi never broke, but that every time he did, he found a reason to return. And maybe that is why Messi's story reaches beyond football. Perhaps you have had a door close, too. Perhaps someone has told you that what you want is too difficult, too late, or simply not meant for you. Messi's story does not promise that every dream comes true. It reminds us of something simpler. Sometimes, you do not need to know how the journey ends. You only need enough courage to take the next step. And before we say goodbye, I want to keep the promise I made near the beginning of this story. I told you that something deeply sad had just happened in Messi's life. On August 8, 2026, his father, Jorge, passed away in Rosario at the age of 68. He was there from the beginning. The father who coached Lionel as a child, crossed the ocean with him, fought for his future, and stood beside him through almost every chapter of his extraordinary journey. Today, behind the football legend, there is simply a son saying goodbye to the man who believed in him first. Rest in peace, Jorge Messi. He was the man who coached Lionel as a child, crossed the ocean with him, fought for his future, and stood beside him through almost every chapter of his extraordinary journey. Perhaps that makes this story feel different today. Behind every great player is still a son who can lose the person who believed in him first. Rest in peace, Jorge Messi, and thank you for walking through this story with me. As we close this story, perhaps the final lesson is not about football at all. If Jorge Messi's role in Lionel's journey touched you, you can leave a few kind words in the comments for Messi and his family. And if this story meant something to you, consider staying with us for the next one. Because behind every famous name, there is always a more human story. One filled with love, sacrifice, loss, and the people who helped make the journey possible. Take care, my friend. I'll see you in the next story.